Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly transformative piece of work based on the book Birds Among Us. We spend so much of our days rushing around with our heads down, or let's be honest, glued to our screens. And because of that, we're completely missing this vibrant, living world operating right above and alongside us. This work offers a powerful invitation to completely reimagine our relationship with nature, using the most accessible wildlife available to almost all of us. Let's dive right in. I absolutely love this opening thought from Dr. Shivananda S. because it immediately challenges how we traditionally view nature. We've been so conditioned to think of nature as, something far away, a national park, a dense jungle, this distant wilderness that requires a road trip or an expensive plane ticket to reach. But this completely flips that script. It tells us that the true journey to understanding the natural world doesn't require packing a bag at all. It simply requires us to stop, take a breath, and actually look at the creatures sharing our immediate space. And that leads us to a really compelling question. What if the key to ecological balance is literally right outside your window? By shifting our focus from that untouched, remote wilderness to the familiar branches in our own backyards, or even the fire escapes of our city apartments, we start to see that we're already part of an active ecosystem. We aren't separate from nature. We are quite literally living inside it. Section 1. Nature is already here. In our modern, super fast-paced society, it is so easy to feel entirely disconnected from the natural world. We feel isolated. But the solution to repairing our relationship with nature is surprisingly close. By observing these everyday creatures, we learn so much more than just what kind of seeds a sparrow prefers. Through the simple act of watching the birds that share our daily lives, it's like a giant puzzle coming together. We begin to discover entire ecosystems in how they function. We learn about communities, both the avian ones and our own. And ultimately, we learn about ourselves and our inherent responsibility to future generations. Every bird we notice is a gentle, winged reminder that nature is not something distant. Moving on to Section 2, the 5-step journey. The author breaks this down into a brilliant, highly practical 5-step journey. It starts off incredibly simple. Step 1 is just to notice. Just pause and see what's there. Step 2 is understand. That's learning their behavior and ecology. Step 3 is connect, building a much deeper bond with the wider world. Step 4 pushes us into action, live in return, taking small, meaningful steps to give back. And finally, Step 5 is close the circle, which is the ultimate goal of creating a harmonious relationship with all life. As you can see, this progression is pretty beautiful. It starts simply at the top with a small bird on a branch representing notice. As we move down to understand, we see an owl, a universal symbol of wisdom and observation. Then, for connect, we have birds in flight across a wider landscape, showing our expanding awareness. Live in return features a nectar-feeding bird interacting directly with the flora, sustaining life. And finally, at the bottom, close the circle shows a human silhouette standing peacefully among the trees at sunset. It just perfectly shows that our journey with birds ultimately leads us right back to our own place in the natural balance. Which brings us to Section 3, Science, Culture, and Action. Now, what's really interesting here is that this book isn't just about identifying feathers. It takes a completely holistic approach across 4 distinct pillars, blending observation with deep knowledge, cultural heritage, and practical action. We have everyday birds, which emphasizes accessibility. We have science, diving into ecology and behavior. We have culture, exploring how birds weave into our human mythology and traditions. And we have action, ensuring that this isn't just some passive hobby, but a way to actively give back. Seeing these pillars laid out visually really shows the incredible depth we're talking about. You have a familiar sparrow perched on a wall with a town in the background, representing everyday birds. For science, there's a heron standing patiently by the water, perfectly adapted to its ecosystem. Down in culture, we see a bird perched beside traditional temple architecture, highlighting how deeply avian life is woven into human history and storytelling. And finally, a simple wooden birdhouse represents action. It shows that this framework is about engaging our minds, our history, and our hands. Okay, under that science pillar, one of the absolutely most fascinating concepts explored is biomimicry. If you aren't familiar with it, biomimicry is basically the scientific practice of learning from and mimicking nature's designs to solve human challenges. It's like the ultimate life hack. For instance, by simply watching how a kingfisher dives into the water without making a splash, human engineers completely redesigned the nose of the Japanese bullet train, making it significantly faster and quieter. It just goes to show how much world-changing wisdom we can actually extract from everyday bird behavior if we just take the time to understand it. Let's look at Section 4. Meet Dr. Shivananda S. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what kind of full-time professional ecologist or wildlife biologist wrote this deeply observant book? Well, the answer is pretty surprising. Dr. Shivananda S. is actually an oral and maxillofacial surgeon and an academic. But side by side with that incredibly demanding medical career, he is a dedicated bird observer and nature enthusiast. This contrast is a real game changer because it proves a massive point. You absolutely do not need to be a full-time wildlife researcher wearing khaki out in the Amazon to forge a deep, meaningful connection with the natural world. Expertise and passion for nature are accessible to absolutely anyone, no matter what your day job is. And finally, Section 5, Closing the Circle. The ultimate destination of this entire journey is closing the circle. The goal of noticing, understanding, and connecting isn't just to amass some giant checklist of bird species. The goal is to create a sustainable, harmonious relationship where humanity and nature thrive together, side by side. We see this perfectly captured right on the book's cover, which features 3 stunning green bee eaters balancing on a man-made wire set against a lush green background. It's this gorgeous visual representation of nature and the human world interacting. It essentially asks us, what do they give us, and what do we owe them in return? As the author so beautifully states at the end of the work, the journey does not end with the last page. It begins every time we pause and notice the birds around us. This isn't just an explainer to watch today and forget about tomorrow. It's a direct call to continuous, everyday action. Every single time you step outside, the journey resets and invites you right back in. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to carry into the rest of your day. When was the last time you truly paused? I mean, really stopped walking, put your phone away in your pocket, and just noticed the birds sharing your daily life? I highly encourage you to step outside today, look up into the branches or up at the city skyline, and start your own journey. You might be completely shocked by the incredible, wild world waiting literally right outside your window.